Welcome to the Rugby Obsession Deep Dive. Today, our mission is really to give you, our listener, the ultimate shortcut. We want to cut through the noise around, not just the next Rugby World Cup, but kind of the blueprint for the whole decade that follows it. We've gathered the sources, and we're diving headfirst into the planning for this next era of hosts. This isn't just about scheduling another tournament. It feels more like mapping out the evolution of global rugby, the sheer scale, the changes in structure we're seeing in the source material. It really shows the sport's entering this massive new chapter, and we're here to walk you through what that looks like.
That's right. We're focusing specifically on where the future cups are going to be held, and maybe more importantly, how the actual fundamental structure of the tournament itself is changing starting in 2027. So yeah, this deep dive is pretty much your essential guide to understanding how the game's growing professionally.
And hey, if you want to keep getting these deep dives, targeted news like this sent straight to you, make sure you hit subscribe to Rugby Obsession. You really won't want to miss our coverage as this, monumental new era gets closer. Okay, so let's get into it. The centerpiece here is Australia hosting the 2027 Rugby World Cup. The sources are quite explicit. They frame this as the real kickoff for a golden decade of major sporting events down under. It feels like a huge anchor point for the sport.
Yeah, and what's fascinating, I think, is the sheer size of that hosting job and also how quickly the focus seems to shift once a host is named. I mean, 2027 might feel way off, but the source material points out that attention's already moving even further ahead towards what they call a new group of nations and even entire regions, sort of quietly getting ready for future bids like 2035 and beyond.
Right. So Australia 2027 isn't just the next tournament on the calendar. It's kind of setting the strategic path, isn't it? It's demonstrating the scale of global hosting that future potential hosts need to aim for.
Exactly. It sets that financial bar, the logistical benchmark. And speaking of magnitude, probably the biggest change our sources detail isn't actually where the tournament is, but this fundamental transformation of the tournament itself, starting right there in Australia.
Ah, yes. This is where it gets really interesting, I think. We've all become pretty familiar with the setup over the years, haven't we? But the format is undergoing this huge, immediate change. The tournament is expanding. It's going from 20 teams up to an unprecedented 24 teams in 2027.
24 teams. That means a complete restructure of the early stages is necessary. It forces a move away from the traditional 4 pools we all know to 6 pools in this expanded format.
And here's the big strategic shift, the one that's going to impact every coach, every player, every fan. They're introducing a brand new round of 16 knockout stage. That's an extra week of competition, an extra knockout game. It fundamentally changes the qualification maths.
And if we link that to the bigger picture, introducing the round of 16, it's a major strategic pivot, isn't it? Previously, the group stages were pretty brutal. Half the teams went home straight away. Now, with more teams getting out of those 6 pools, you could argue it kind of lowers the immediate pressure on the top seeds, to have perfect pool stages.
But hang on, doesn't that extra game increase the risk elsewhere? Okay, maybe less pressure in the group stage, but now you potentially have to play 8 top-level matches to win the whole thing, not 7. That extra physical toll seems massive, especially for teams that rely heavily on a core group of players.
That's a really good point. It definitely raises questions about squad rotation. The top nations might feel they can rest key players in certain group games, maybe against newly qualified Tier 2 or 3 teams, saving energy for that critical round of 16. But the source material also suggests this format isn't just about the top teams. It seems designed to guarantee more visibility, more opportunity for those emerging nations too.
Yeah, that feels like the real opportunity here. For teams like, say, Fiji, Samoa, or maybe the teams from the emerging American market, moving to 24 teams and 6 pools significantly boosts their mathematical chances of reaching a knockout round. And that guarantees them valuable airtime, crucial broadcast money they probably wouldn't have seen under the old, more ruthless 20-team structure.
It does seem like a smart move for global development, yeah. It should mean fewer dead rubber matches towards the end of the pools, because that fight for maybe a third-place qualification spot becomes really vital for getting into the round of 16. So it keeps the competitive tension going through the group phase, but maybe spreads the strategic risk a bit more widely.
Okay, that format change is huge, and it brings us right back to the logistics, doesn't it? Moving those extra teams, all their support staff, media, plus, the hundreds of thousands of fans they expect, moving all that across a country as massive as Australia. That sounds like an undertaking of, truly colossal proportions.
Oh, absolutely. The sources really highlight the sheer geographical challenge. How do you balance the logistics across that continent while still making sure the bigger tournament delivers quality and quantity? Australia's, well, it's vast, and it looks like the organizers are leaning into that size, trying to use it to get the whole nation engaged.
And the list of host cities really shows that spread. It's impressive. They're weaving the tournament right into the fabric of the country. We're talking host cities stretching right across the continent. Adelaide, Brisbane, Melbourne, Newcastle, Perth, Sydney, and even Townsville up north. That kind of footprint makes sure pretty much every region gets a piece of the action, gets to benefit.
Yeah, just think about the distances involved there. Flying from Perth on the west coast over to Sydney on the east, it's like a 5-hour flight. The logistics teams for all 24 nations, they're going to be working overtime, figuring out the best travel schedules, recovery times. It's going to be a logistical masterpiece if they pull it off smoothly.
And the potential payoff looks enormous. Our sources put some seriously big numbers out there for the economic forecast. It really shows why nations are already lining up for future bids. Get this. Organizers are expecting 250,000 international visitors, 250,000 people flying in specifically for the tournament.
Wow, and those visitors, they're projected to bring some serious money with them. The anticipated direct spend from visitors alone is expected to top AUD 1.3 billion. That's a massive economic boost, way beyond just ticket sales. It's tourism, hospitality, maybe longer-term infrastructure investment too, all rolled into one event.
So, the grand finale then. Where does this massive tournament wrap up? Sydney's Accor Stadium gets the nod. It's slated to host both semifinals and the grand final itself. And with a capacity of 82,000, it feels like the right kind of stage for the climax of this bigger, expanded tournament. Okay, but before we move on, we actually want to hear from you, the listener. We've just listed, 7 Australian cities gearing up to host this huge event. If you were planning your dream trip based on this news, which of those cities, Adelaide, Brisbane, Melbourne, Newcastle, Perth, Sydney, or Townsville, which one would you want to visit first? Let us know.
Yeah, good question. And while you're maybe sketching out that ideal itinerary, maybe take a second to subscribe to Rugby Obsession and let us know what you think about that expanded 24-team format too. Do you reckon introducing the round of 16 is good for the global game? Does it elevate it? We're keen to hear opinions. So just to kind of synthesize what we've been talking about, this shift, the way 2027 is setting the path for future cups, that feels key. The sources briefly touch on historical context, mentioning how, the first World Cup in South Africa since 1995 is still being discussed. That kind of anecdote really underlines the long cycle of these hosting rights.
That's a really powerful bit of context, actually. When a country gets the hosting rights, it's not just like 4 weeks of rugby. It often really is a once-in-a-generation event for them. And the fact that organizers are already looking ahead, thinking about future bids now, it just shows how Australia 2027 is effectively setting the standard for maybe the next 2 decades of global rugby structure.
Absolutely. I mean, the decision to expand to 24 teams, it wasn't purely logistical, was it? It feels like a strategic, forward-looking commitment to globalization, making sure the sport stays commercially strong and gets more competitive worldwide.
Yeah, it's crystal clear that the 2027 tournament in Australia is shaping up to be absolutely monumental. Just the massive growth shown by the 24-team format alone, combine that with the unprecedented scale of hosting it across Australia, it really does signal a new era for the sport, one that seems to reward global ambition.
Well, we hope this deep dive has given you the facts and maybe some of that crucial strategic context you need so you can sound well informed about where the Rugby World Cup is heading next. For more deep dives, more analysis, and just to stay ahead of the game, please do hit that subscribe button for Rugby Obsession. Thank you for listening to the Rugby Obsession Deep Dive, and we will look forward to you listening to our next episode.